Dr. Fridu Matiang'i makes a U-turn and warns Rigathi Gachagua and the team thoroughly. Welcome to Kenya Lens Media, where we give you news updates as they break. And kindly, if you are new here, consider subscribing. Now, the Kenya's opposition alliance is facing renewed internal pressure after senior political figure Fred Matiang'i demanded a transparent, data-driven process to select a single presidential flag bearer ahead of the next general election. Speaking amid growing speculation about behind-the-scenes negotiations within the coalition, the Jubilee deputy party leader warned that only a credible and verifiable popularity poll can produce a candidate strong enough to challenge President William Ruto. Matiang'i's intervention has sharpened an already delicate debate inside the opposition ranks, where competing ambitions and strategic calculations are threatening to slow unity efforts. His insistence on what he termed a scientific approach is widely interpreted as resistance to proposals for the negotiated political settlement among coalition principals. With a key strategy retreat recently postponed, analysts say the dispute over the selection formula could become a defining moment for the opposition's electoral prospects. At the center of the emerging standoff is a fundamental question that has historically shaped Kenyan opposition politics: how to unite multiple power centers behind one presidential candidate without alienating key constituencies. Matiang'i has argued that the method used to pick the joint candidate may be as important as the candidate themselves. In his view, a process perceived as opaque or predetermined will damage public trust and also weaken grassroots enthusiasm long before campaigns formally begin. Political observers note that opposition coalitions in Kenya have often struggled with internal competition, particularly when several high-profile figures believe they have national appeal. The risk, analysts say, is that prolonged wrangling could fragment support or delay early campaign momentum. By pushing for an independent popularity poll, Matiang'i appears to be positioning himself as an advocate for procedural legitimacy at a time when coalition unity is under close public scrutiny. According to statements attributed to Matiang'i, the proposed approach would rely on independently conducted and publicly verifiable opinion survey to identify the strongest contender. Supporters of this model argue that data-driven selection offers several advantages. First, it provides measurable evidence of nationwide support rather than relying on elite negotiations. Secondly, it can reduce post-election disputes, or rather post-selection disputes, by grounding the outcome in quantifiable metrics. And the third, it signals to voters that the coalition is committed to transparency. However, the proposal is not without controversy. Some political insiders suggest that the certain coalition figures prefer a negotiated arrangement among principals, a method that can be used in past political alliances to balance regional and ethnic interests. Critics of the polling approach warn that surveys can be influenced by methodology disputes, sampling questions, or timing. The disagreement reflects the deeper strategic tensions about how best to build a winning coalition nationally. The fragility of the opposition internal discussions became more visible after the planned high-level retreat in Naivasha was pushed to the following week, while organizers have publicly framed the delay as routine scheduling. Insiders familiar with the talks point to unresolved disagreements over the flag-bearer formula as a key factor. Political analysts interpret the postponement as an early warning sign that consensus may prove difficult. Retreats of this nature are typically designed to project unity and strategic clarity. A delay at this stage suggests that negotiations remain fluid and potentially contentious, and if the coalition fails to agree on clear rules soon, observers warn that uncertainty could begin to erode public confidence. For Kenya's opposition, the choice of presidential flag bearer is not merely procedural, it is existential. President Ruto, who is expected to seek a re-election, enters the next political cycle with the advantages of incumbency, state visibility, and established national network, and any opposition coalition hoping to mount a serious challenge must present both unity and organizational discipline. Matiang'i's warning is blunt, such that a flawed selection process could effectively hand the incumbent an easier path to victory. Election strategists note that Kenyan voters increasingly scrutinize coalition cohesion as proxy for governing capability. Internal disputes that spill into public view can weaken voter confidence, depress turnout among supporters, and complicate fundraising efforts. From this perspective, the method of choosing a candidate is itself a campaign signal. The current debate reflects two competing traditions in Kenyan coalition building. One model emphasizes elite consensus, where senior leaders negotiate privately and announce a joint ticket based on a political balancing. This approach prioritizes speed and internal harmony among principals, but can draw criticism for lack of transparency. The other model emphasizes empirical legitimacy through opinion polling or party primaries. This method aims at to demonstrate democratic credibility, but can expose divisions if results are disputed. Matiang'i's petition and position clearly aligns with the second approach. Political scientists note that neither model guarantees success. However, in an era of heightened public scrutiny and social media mobilization, perceptions of fairness are becoming increasingly important. Kenya's recent political history offers cautionary examples for both sides of the debate. Opposition coalitions that entered election with unresolved internal tensions have often struggled to maintain momentum during the campaign season. Conversely, alliances that managed to project unity early typically performed more strongly at the ballot. Analysts also point out that disputed nomination processes have previously led to defections, parallel campaigns, and lukewarm grassroots mobilization, all of which can weaken coalition's national approach. Against this backdrop, the current disagreement carries significant strategic weight. Attention is now focused on whether opposition leaders can agree on a mutually acceptable roadmap before internal competition hardens into open rivalry. Political observers say early clarity could help stabilize the coalition narrative, while prolonged ambiguity may embolden the ruling camp. The debate triggered by Matiang'i's remarks goes far beyond internal party mechanics. It speaks directly to the broader question of Kenya's opposition, or rather whether Kenya's opposition can transform multiple political ambitions into a coherent national alternative. If the coalition adopts a transparent and widely accepted selection method, therefore it could strengthen public confidence and also energize supporters ahead of the next election cycle. And if, however, the process appears opaque or contested, the resulting mistrust could fracture opposition unity at a critical moment. For President Ruto, the opposition's internal cohesion or lack of it may prove as decisive as any policy debate. For voters, the episode offers an early test of whether opposition leaders can model the democratic standards they promise to uphold. In Kenya's competitive political landscape, the road to the ballot often begins long before campaigns officially launch. The coming decision on how to choose a single flag bearer may ultimately shape not only the opposition's fortunes, but the broader balance of power heading into the next general election. That is all for today from Kenya Lens Media. Kindly, if you are new here, consider subscribing.